I'm Dan Albers, and welcome here to Dingo and the Coach. And I am Dingo, and this is the Coach. And Steve, excited to bring an episode here that we got some topics that we would like to discuss. And I think one of the ones that we're going to kind of get into the transfer portal, talk about that and the craziness of the transfer portal. We're talking, since with the draft coming up, we're going to talk about some of the top 5 picks that the Bengals have had, and some of the busts, good and bad. Yeah. We'll also get into the Reds for a little bit, and then we'll also talk about upcoming guests that we have, and also we'll talk about our golf outing that we have coming up. So we'll get into that. So why don't we go ahead and get started right away and kind of want to talk about the transfer portal. So we got the transfer portal going on, and yesterday I went to the spring game at UC. Really cool to be there. They haven't had a spring game in a while, but that got me thinking when I was there that if you look, a lot of the college teams in football had their spring game yesterday, and the reason why was because the date for the transfer portal started yesterday.
That's crazy. So you have to think about that.
Right. It's the only reason they had their spring games is because, and if you heard Coach Satterfield after the spring game, he said, we're going to all meet individually with these guys, and they're going to make a decision whether they want to be here or not.
When did he say that? For after the spring game?
After the spring game on Saturday. So they already know what they're doing, and he said that after our spring practices, we're going to hit the portal and look for other guys that we need. So
just to improve.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so different now. It's so different. Well, first of all, go back real quick because we have a new coach,
right?
And you went there yesterday. You said, how was it? Was it well attended?
It was better than it was better than I thought. I mean, obviously they only did the lower bowl, and both sides were pretty full. Not the corners were full, but the sides were. It was pretty decent for I'm trying to remember back when I went to Fickle, because Fickle didn't do it for a couple of years because of COVID or whatever else was going on, and last year they canceled it. They just did it in the bubble, so it was a decent crowd. It was kind of weird how they did it. They didn't really do a game per se. They did ones versus ones, twos versus twos.
Okay.
So what they did with the ones was Ben Bryant started, did 4 or 5 plays, and Emory Jones came in and did 4 or 5 plays. Okay. But then he'd put in a lot of other guys. But speaking, just of that with the transfer portal, I mean, it's almost getting to the point where it's ruining college sports, don't you think?
Well, it's a combination of that and the NIL. When you talk about how they're getting paid now, which, there's lots of arguments, good, bad on both ways. But I mean, the biggest thing, and this is a lot of things in the country right now, Danny, is that there is absolutely no loyalty anymore.
There's not.
When we talk about the transfer portal, whether it be basketball or football or any sport in college, I mean, if there's that instant gratification thing, if you aren't playing or if one thing goes wrong, boom, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And it's almost not fair for the universities that are paying for these kids' education.
Well, I mean, for you as a coach, okay, obviously it's different at UC Claremont than it is at a major university. And UC did it. They had to hire a general manager just to look over and manage their team because it's gotten so out of control right now.
Correct.
I mean, and I'll give you an example. We talked before we went on air here there was a kid that I saw from San Diego State that within, I think it was less than an hour of him saying that he was in a transfer portal, he already signed with another school. So to me, that's illegal recruitment. That's like he's already
happened. Right? Yeah,
money, like you said, and the money's out of control right now.
Yeah,
and we'll throw it back here to basketball. Jeremiah Davenport,
correct,
transferred.
Yeah,
I think that it was a move that I feel as a UC basketball fan, it was just time for Davenport to go. I appreciate everything that he did, staying and being there and everything, but I think the fan base was getting frustrated with Davenport because I felt like he fired the ball up every single time he got in, and I just feel like it was time, right? Yeah. I was shocked that Arkansas took him. I was stunned because you and I know as basketball, fans, and you're a coach and I broadcast that his defense is a huge liability, and I just don't see how that's going to be a fit in the SEC.
Well, first, I'm a huge Wes Miller fan.
Yeah.
And then, in this situation with Davenport, halfway through the year, he had put him on the bench.
Right.
To come off the bench, which can be good and bad. I mean, here's a shooter coming off the bench. Let's face it, Davenport was a big streaky shooter.
Right.
And if he's not making shots and he's not playing defense, you're no good.
Right.
And going back to my point about the instant gratification thing, well, here he is 3 years in, and if he thinks he's not going to start or play more than half the game, screw this, I'm out of here. And he thinks that he's going to go do that at Arkansas, who went far in the tournament.
Yeah, and I agree. But I think the thing that's frustrating for me is that I don't understand is you even got guys that are kicking butt and doing well, and they still transfer.
Right.
And that's all about the money.
Well, that's behind the scenes thing that we don't know, but I bet you're probably right. I mean, but then you start getting into personalities or style of play. So there's the old school thought of the Tom Izzos of the world that, the commitment level and how the basketball game is supposed to be played. And then there's the AAU type of thought of the John Calipari's of the world. Right. That it's just to come in, don't worry about playing defense too much, just go play. I'm not saying Calipari doesn't teach defense or like him. I mean, obviously they all want him to play defense, but that's just the style. The whole AAU, I don't have to play defense. I'm just going to go score.
Right.
Don't worry about them scoring on you. I'm going to go score.
The other thing that I heard, and I don't know if this is accurate or true, but I heard that Manning got $3.5 million to go to Texas.
Oh, I've heard it's been even higher than that from some other quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane that you would want. I mean, what if you're that booster, that person that's put that money up and he's not doing very well?
Yeah.
Pulling it back, and then that kid's disappointed. He wants to go somewhere
else. Then he's out of here. Yeah. Well, so I'm hoping that this whole NIL thing will hopefully keep players, no matter what sport you're talking about, in college a little longer. Because as we know, especially as UC fans, basketball especially, that they have gone after one and done because they want to go make that money.
Right.
Well, now if they're able to make that money and stay, then maybe they'll stay an extra year or so. But then who knows? Like you said, they may stay and then transfer to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, just give it Landers Nolly for an example for UC.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, Memphis, Cincinnati. So he had 3 schools in 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy how many people have transferred every year. And they're going to have to do something. They're just going to have to say, okay, and I think they have. I think they said if you've transferred twice, you have to get a waiver.
There's something, or you have to sit out a year.
Exactly. I mean, I just think it's. I just don't. I just think it's crazy. But then on the flip side, let's talk about this real quick too, because you've got a guy that we're going to be interviewing here in a couple weeks, James Camden, who went to Anderson High School, walked on at UC, and Steve, I'm going to tell you what. In the spring game, I was there. I purposely watched him. Right, I wanted to see how he was all over the place.
Yeah,
but then I wanted to say, okay, is that just me being an Anderson guy and a UC guy? Am I just favoring him? But then everybody in that thing said, who stood out? And James Camden stood out.
He's getting the stats.
So that, again, a transfer portal. A lot of guys move. A lot of guys get hurt.
Yeah.
There's a kid that walks on, gets an opportunity that probably wouldn't have had an opportunity.
Yeah.
And some of these other guys went to the NFL draft. Yeah. Here's James Camden now walk on that's possibly going to play a lot of time.
Well, great kid, great work ethic. As you can talk to the football coaches at Anderson. I know he played basketball as well, but great family. I can't wait to interview him because I mean, obviously, like we talk about Zeke and some of these other guys, we're all rooting for him.
Yeah. I mean, it was really cool to watch him yesterday. And just real quick, and then we'll flip into what we're going to talk about next is the draft. But that's got to be hard, don't you think, for a coach for recruiting when you got all this transfer portal stuff? Isn't that got to be extremely difficult?
Well, no, it is because it trickles down because it makes it even tougher for high school kids now because they have to sit and wait. To see how that's all going to spin out before they go after. Because, college coaches, let's face it, I mean, would you want an experienced guy that that can be successful at the college level, or do you want to take a chance on a high school senior where you're not sure? Yeah. And that's how it works. And so it's a trickle-down effect. So then now it affects, the high Division I into the lower Division I, and then it affects Division II, and it goes all the way down.
Yeah, but you as a coach, would you want, I understand trying to go for that experience and everything. I'm just going to give an example of Dan Skillings that played for UC. Thought the kid I think he's gonna be really good.
Yeah.
But he didn't play a lot in the beginning. He played a lot towards the end, and probably the reason he didn't play in the beginning was because of these transfers, right?
Right.
So that I think delays, and you just don't know. I think I don't know. I just feel like that you're right that it affects those freshmen and those younger kids of getting valuable playing time.
No question about it. And unless you're able to be lucky enough to get that experience, you may have to pay the price. And, and that's the problem, Danny. Again, can't say it enough about the instant gratification. Guys don't want to wait around. Guys don't want to fight for it and pay their dues.
Steve, you and I are old school. We had to fight for everything that we did at the high school level. You had to fight for it at college. Coaching, you had to do the same thing. And I'm old school, and I hate to see the entitlement of I should need to play, I need to do this, instead of working hard for it. And then what I feel like is a lot of those kids blame others or other people instead of taking responsibility for just working hard to get there.
Right. And that's part one. Part two is they see that it's easy to go somewhere else.
Right.
If it wasn't so easy to go somewhere else, maybe they would suck it up and work harder.
That's exactly right. So, that's our take on a transfer portal. It's just a crazy time right now. And again, I think they have a week and a half, 2 weeks at the max to make your decision. So you're going to see a lot in basketball. I could be wrong. I swear, I think I saw combined maybe for basketball and football was 6,000.
Yeah. I mean,
6,000.
Just to see what's out there, it's just crazy. And to me, I mean, not that I'll ever be at that level, but if a player came to me and said, hey, I'm going to see what's out there, but I may be back.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that put a bad taste in your mouth?
It absolutely would. Yeah. If you want to go. Yeah. That's the way.
Once you walk out the door,
you're done.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
And we're always right. So
we are. All right. So so we also, another thing that we got coming up here is the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, you and I thinking about this, the Bengals obviously have done a lot better here in the last few years.
Yes.
But let's talk about some of the ones that we know of bust and some ones that we've had some good positive ones. And I'm going to start off with the one that I remember I was so excited that the Bengals finally made a trade up to get Kajana Carter. One of the biggest busts we've ever had.
And who would have thought that? I mean, obviously injuries had something to do with that. Probably a bad offensive line had something to do with that. But, he got injured in preseason. But, I mean, it was hard not to take him at the time.
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, he was all over the news, and that was almost before the internet and all that stuff. I mean, he was like the best running back out there. Right. So how could you not take him?
Well, so taking that, is that the fault of the Bengals because they didn't, put people around him to be better? Or was it, you know what I mean? Like, so there's probably a lot of those things for why these reasons maybe where they were.
Well, as a lot of people say, you get Bengalized, but all that's going away now. I mean,
it's true.
We've turned over a new leaf and with who we got now. But I mean, guys like him who came in, whatever happened, and he twisted his knee, and then he was never the same after that.
No, he wasn't. And another one that I'm thinking of right off the bat was why we drafted David Klingler. I think we still had Boomer. We still had Boomer? We drafted David Klingler, which at the time in college he was good, but he was again one of those one hit wonders.
Yeah, gunslinger.
Yeah, he was. And the other guy that was probably, I would have to say, probably one of the worst ones, Achilles Smith. Yeah, average at best.
He was one for whatever reason. Worst. Yeah, but going back to David Klingler, so here's a guy who, and I would like to compare side by side sacks compared to Joe Burrow in the last couple of years. Yeah. Because David Klingler got sacked
a ton.
At like an average of like 10 times a game, it seemed like. And I mean, which is awful, and I'm sure he, after a year or so, he
had enough.
It was in his head. Bell was wrong enough, but again, another guy, he had some games where he's throwing 7 touchdowns a game, and I mean, here's his gunslinger. But if you don't have the people around him, that's what's going to happen. And that's on the other flip side to Joe Burrow. I mean, his first couple of years, we didn't have a whole much, and he was getting sacked, but he was still producing, which shows you the difference. And that's why the Achilles of the world are a major bust.
I remember hearing a story. I think it was either Bruce Coslett or Bob Trumpy said something about Achilles Smith was so bad they would call the plays, and he had no clue what the plays were, and that's why there was a play, I don't know if you remember, against the Ravens one year where he just a guy came and it was Achilles Smith's fault. Yeah. And just that's how bad he was.
Yeah.
And that again, entitlement, preparedness, being ready, and they said he didn't work hard.
Yeah, well, and so some of that goes back on the Bengals or any organization when you're doing your homework on somebody, whether or not what's their mentality, how hard do they study,
talking to the coaches.
I can give you an example is going all the way back to anybody that remembers James Brooks.
Oh yeah.
So James Brooks, who I forget where he played college. You remember where he played college? Auburn.
Yeah.
Okay, so he went through Auburn, SEC school, and then he played for
the Chargers,
played for the Bengals. And he got to the Bengals, and they didn't know until he showed up that he could barely read.
Wow.
Barely read. So my question is, how did he get through college? How did he get through high school? How did he get through college? And then here he is in the pros, and they basically had to show him because he couldn't read the playbook.
That is scary.
How about that?
That is scary. Well, I remember Dexter Mann. Or Dexter Manley, or whatever his name was. Same thing.
Couldn't
read, couldn't write, and so he got through all college, pro, all that stuff.
It's probably more than we realize. Yeah. But so how does that even happen? I mean, in high school for that kid to pass through and then go to Auburn.
People doing stuff for him, taking his test, doing all that stuff. And I'm sure there's a lot more rampant.
Right.
I mean, if you remember what years ago with Roy Williams at North Carolina, there was kids taking classes that they weren't even registered for.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a lot more crooked crap going on than you realize. Yeah. I mean, there really is.
Is there any other bust you got?
Yeah, I got, Big Daddy. I mean, he bust, but not, I don't know if he was considered like those other guys.
Well, I mean, all these guys got to play a little bit.
Yeah.
But Big Daddy, I mean, I guess just the expectations is why we were calling him a bust.
Right.
I mean, he was okay.
He was supposed to be the end all be all.
Yeah.
And he wasn't.
Yeah.
And then I got remember David Verser.
Yeah.
He wasn't very good either.
Wasn't he like a track guy too?
I think he was very fast.
Yeah.
I think right now, or I heard that after he left the Bengals, he became a cop.
Really?
Yeah, with the Cincinnati Police Department. I don't know if that's true.
So what I didn't understand and I don't know who were the coaches some of those years, and we know obviously. I
think Forrest Gregg was for David Verser.
Okay, all right, and then who was the last guy? The coach of the Bengals.
Marvin Lewis.
He always said that he wanted to draft the best athlete.
Yeah.
Which I don't even get to.
You go to position of need, not best athlete. I mean, you go ahead and you're going to get a guy that's a track star, but can he do everything else?
Yeah. Can he read? Can he block?
Yeah. Can he run his routes right?
Right. Can he take a hit?
Yeah. I mean, best athlete. And it shows why Marvin Lewis didn't make it to the. I wasn't a big fan.
Oh, really? I didn't know that, Dave.
Not a big fan.
I didn't know you didn't like him.
I haven't been a big fan of Zach Taylor either. And I'm on a group.
You're coming around now.
I'm on a group text with Steve and Brad and Greg, and we do talk about sports and all that. And my running thing is anytime the Bengals are doing bad, I said Zach Taylor's awful.
Yeah.
That's just a joke now.
You didn't say that when they got to the Super Bowl, though.
I did. Well, one other one I got to do, and the only reason I said it is because he was in a movie and he was huge. Is Pete Koch? Remember Pete Koch?
What movie?
Huge. He was in Full Metal Jacket, or that one with Clint Eastwood where they changed the he's an old retired sergeant and comes back.
Really?
Ridge Mountain or one of those movies. But Pete Koch was in that movie. He was the big dude in that movie that played for the Bengals, and he ended up going into acting for a little. I just had to
can't say Ridge Mountain.
Yeah,
because not Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, not Brokeback
but Heartbreak Ridge.
Heartbreak Ridge. That's it. Yep. Exactly.
All right, now we got the clarification.
That's it. So on the flip side, obviously, great ones we've had is Burrow. Burrow and Chase.
That's got to be number one.
Burrow and Chase are up there.
Yeah, number 1 and 2.
Willie Anderson's got to be up there. Anthony Munoz. Boomer.
Was Kenny Anderson the number 1 draft pick?
I think so.
Was he?
Well, and then if you think about it, really back then, Greg Cook was an awesome one until he got hurt. I mean, Greg Cook potentially, everybody said that he was potentially going to be better than Montana.
Correct.
I mean, and he got hurt and he was done. So I'm just trying to think of some other, number 1 picks. I'm sure we're forgetting some right now. They've had some.
Was Pickens in the number 1 pick?
Pickens was a number 1 pick, I believe. It's 1 or 2. He might have been a second round pick.
Okay.
But so they have had some good, Andrew Whitworth was a number 1 pick, wasn't he? Or was he a number 2nd round?
I think second. Well, what about, what was the guy that won the Heisman in Michigan for the Bengals? Desmond Howard.
No, he didn't play for the Bengals. Not that. Oh, I know. Peter Warwick for Florida State. Peter Warwick played for Florida State.
My bad.
So he was, he's one of those ones that he did all right, but didn't do,
not whatever. He had like one punt return.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. He didn't do much, and so those are some of the ones that we thought about in the draft, and I always love the draft. I could sit there and watch it from Thursday to Sunday and just sit there and watch because I love watching college football. Yeah. And I really feel like there's going to be a lot of UC guys that are going to get drafted.
Well, there's already been a lot of UC guys the last few years, which is incredible to see.
I think they're going to get possibly 6 more guys.
Really?
I do. They're going to have Wiley. I really think that Pace is going to get drafted.
Wow.
Pace will get drafted. I think
someone take a chance on me, even his size.
I really
take
do.
A chance.
And Josh Wiley.
Yeah.
Wiley will get drafted. I mean, so there's a lot of guys for UC that are, and if not, free agent looks. So last year they had 13. So if you think about that, they do 6 more. You're talking, that's a lot of draft picks for.
Yeah. Let alone all the local talent. That we're watching for.
Mayer from Notre Dame will get drafted, probably high in the first round.
He wants to go to Bengals.
Yeah, got to be so cool to have. Or Wiley. I'll take Wiley too. That'd be great to have him. So let's go flip over to the Reds real quick and
let's talk about the Reds.
Yeah. So I mean, didn't expect much from him this year, but a much better start than last year. I think last year it took them to May 6th or later, maybe later, to get their 6th win. They were 6-23 last year into May. So they've got they're 6-8 now. Is that correct?
6-8 or 5-8, something.
Yeah, somewhere. So playing a lot better. Yeah. But still, it's things that frustrate you. Obviously, is the bullpen.
Well, that's what it always. And I've told a lot of people if the games were only 6 or 7 innings, the Reds would be in contention.
I mean, we got Buck Farmer. Buck Farmer now. Come on,
jeez.
Buck Farmer is a reliever, and we talked before we went on air. All the 1-run games that they've lost.
They've lost. So 5 of their 8 losses, are by 1 run.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going back 33 years since they went to the World Series. Which is just incredible for the expectations of this town. But the sad thing is, the theme right now is the strive for 65, because the over/under on wins is 65 wins if you bet it in Vegas.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so the strive for 65. How sad is that?
That is really sad. But I mean, if you look at it, there's some exciting ball players that you got. I think Steer's been doing a lot better than what people thought at third base. And then you've got Dela Cruz down in the minors. You got McLean down in the minors. So you've got guys that are coming up that Joey Votto. Joey Votto obviously is going to be in the Reds Hall of Fame, and I've heard people say that he's going to be in Cooperstown. I don't know. I don't know how you put people in anymore. I don't understand. If Dave Concepcion's not in the Hall of Fame,
that's a crime.
Pete Rose not in the Hall of Fame.
Absolute crime.
So I don't. And there's people that are in over David Concepcion that David Concepcion's better
stats.
I just don't know what. And the thing that always frustrates me with the Hall of Fame, Steve, is your stats don't. You go from being, close to being like at 75%, you're close to being in. The next year you're down to 50. What's changed? In that year, nothing. They still have the same stats.
Yeah. What they say, you are what the back of your baseball card is.
Lance McAllister.
So here's the one thing to bring up. So the Reds are 5-8 or 6-8 right now, and kind of competitive, but we can't, once we get to 7th, because we got great starting pitching. Right. The problem with this small market team, as a lot of people probably know, I'm stating the obvious here, is that 2 of their top 3 salaries right now on the Reds team are not even in uniform.
Right.
One of them being Joey Votto. He's still rehabbing, coming back, which, by the way, he's still not doing very well.
Right.
And we have a guy, Will Myers last night, who had 2 homers, and he has some talk that he should be playing. But then the other one is Ken Griffey Jr.
It's amazing.
He hasn't pitched or hit for the Reds in over 10 years, but he is still getting paid by the Reds from his last contract.
How many more years does he have on that?
1 or 2.
It's kind of like the Bobby Bonilla thing.
Oh, right? every July 1st or August 1st, one of the 2. Yeah.
Getting what, 3.5?
No, 1 million.
Oh, 1 million.
Yeah, he gets 1 million every year. Yeah. But a small market, you have your top 3 salaries, and they're not even playing last night.
Right.
That's a problem.
That's a huge problem. Do you think Votto's last year's this year?
Yes, I do.
And then
he even said it too. He said that if he doesn't do well, that he's going to hang it up.
He wants to retire as a Red.
Yeah.
Listen, I think a lot of people have given Votto a lot of crap. towards the tail end of his career, but I think he's been a good Red. I mean, he's had some good years, he's had some down years, but I just think people now, the negativity in this world today is just awful.
Oh,
and they don't
so easy to do it.
Let's go back. Listen,
on social media.
You and I get frustrated with Davenport and all that stuff.
Yep.
But what he did for UC to stay and do the things he did to keep the pro, so that's what I guess I'm getting. I'm a real, like I said with Zach Taylor, all this other stuff. I'm a I go right to the negative. That's just the way that I have in sports wise. That's been my sports mentality. So I don't know. I feel like Votto has been a great player. Not here in the last few years, but
no,
he's I mean,
well, it's been kind of an unfair thing because of a couple things. One, we can't compare him to the big red machine guys, and two, because he has such a huge contract and it kind of handcuffs us. Our expectations are for him to be Superman,
right?
And he is a very good, solid player, but he can't hit 75 home runs a game, can't do all that, can't do the pitching, all that stuff that comes with it.
So do you play? I mean, when he comes back, like today, I think he's active. He's going to be activated today. Does he play? And like so, then you're rotating at first base. Myers, Stevenson, and Vossler was, but I think Vossler's going to end up going down, or they're going to do something with Vossler, and then Votto would come in. So between those three, I guess they split the time at first base.
Split the time. You have the DH. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a key thing. And the other thing, Danny, is that one of the things I didn't understand the last couple of years, and you're paying Votto a gazillion dollars, is that you're still, even when he's not hitting, you're still batting him third or fourth.
Right.
Okay, so bat him 6, 7, or 8. Down there.
No, I agree. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that. But I guess one of the big things that the Reds have had that they've done a really good job with when they've been bad is their concession stands.
Well,
think about that.
I was going to say, Votto needs to try Skyline.
Yeah. So I mean, they've done a really good job as far as trying to make it a little bit more fan friendly.
Yes.
Because honestly, not a lot of people are going. That got me thinking some of the stuff that they've had in their concession stand has been some pretty darn good stuff.
Well, it's pretty incredible because I thought it was really cool a few years ago. Well, it's probably been longer than that now, but they brought Frisch's in there.
Yeah.
Well, now they're bringing in Chick-fil-A.
Right.
I think they have Montgomery Inn down there. But have you seen the thing? And I don't know if I want to try this or not, that they have down there. You can get a Sky Rosa.
Really?
Basically, it's a coney on top of a pepperoni pizza.
Now, Zane would be all over that. My stepson Zane would be all over that.
No question he would. Would you try that?
Yeah, I think I would, but it depends on how many beers I had, I guess. Yeah.
At what time of night?
Probably late. So that got me thinking about that, Steve, with what we just talked about with the draft, the concessions at the food and everything. Like if we did if we did a draft right now, and we were to do our fast food restaurants, what would be your top 5 restaurants? Like go to, you're out, you got to go somewhere. Yeah. What's going to be your number 1 restaurant you go to?
Well, so I'm going to be really boring because I'm going to be all in for Cincinnati.
Okay. Well, just give it to me.
So Skyline.
You go. That'll be your number 1 go-to.
Yeah.
Even if you,
I'm gonna say 1 and 1A.
But hold on, it's kind of messy to eat when you're driving. If you're getting a 3-way, or are you just getting cheese conies?
Well, I mean, if I'm driving, it's Coney's or Cholito. Okay. But the other one, the 1 and 1A, obviously being local is La Rosa's. I got to go there.
All right. See, you probably know this. My number 1, Burger King.
Yeah.
Bacon double cheeseburger, large fry. That used to be the go-to when Steve and I go out late at night.
Yeah, I was gonna say that wasn't a 6 o'clock dinner.
That was like a 3 o'clock in the morning dinner. but back in the day, so I would go.
Yeah. Who you got?
I go, okay, Burger King's obviously going to be out there. And it used to be McDonald's, but I haven't had McDonald's in a long time. Yeah. I'd say Wendy's is up there for me. Yeah. Those junior bacon cheeseburger. Yeah. I tell you what that's put up on the list is Chick-fil-A.
Well, all right, so Chick-fil-A Chick-fil-A is a huge one. You know, it's so popular, and they have some type of thing where they got it down pat. If every fast food restaurant drive-through could learn from Chick-fil-A, their business would be booming. It would be incredible. Like if McDonald's could learn from Chick-fil-A.
Absolutely,
it's so good too.
So if you had to go right now, so you say Skyline 1, La Rosa's 2,
yep,
and Chick-fil-A 3.
Negative.
4?
No.
What would be that?
Chipotle.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
See, I get the bowl.
I get the bowl.
That's a messy when you're driving.
Well, you get a burrito then.
Yeah, well, that's messy too.
Well,
you got to think about mess factors. Steve.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know you were that dainty, but
that's a big word, dainty. Holy moly!
No, I mean, so that would be my 3.
I would go Burger King, Chick-fil-A would be up there. And then, I mean, Skyline's always, I'd go Chipotle because I've hit that a lot. I hit that a lot is Chipotle.
Yeah,
that's a big one. So yeah, those are. Yeah, I just thought that was kind of fun to do something like that. I don't know about other things that you would throw stuff into, but I just thought with the draft coming up, that'd be kind of see what everybody had out there, and you can throw us a comment if you watch this and let us know what you think is some of your give us some of your Bengal draft buffs. Talk about the Reds, anything that we talked about, throw it up on this.
And then we'll bring it back up.
Yeah, and bring it up. Yeah, and we'll talk about it again on our screen. And so, Steve, we're going to try to wrap this up, but let's. I want to get into a couple of things real quick. Yeah. Is what we've got coming up here in June 3rd is our golf outing. I think it's our 12th year doing it. It's a lot of fun, and I love it. Steve participates. Frank Brandy, a lot of the football guys, a lot of people come back. It is a ton of fun. I love doing it, and this year I'm going to try. In years past, I golf and I didn't golf, and I'm going to try to golf again with you guys.
Yes.
And so anybody out there that's watching or listening, if you want to get a foursome, you can go to the Anderson Football Alumni website, sign up that way. Also, if you want to sponsor, we're always looking for sponsors. Our sponsors are what gets us through this. So if you want to sponsor, they've got different levels that you can do that. You get signed at the outing. You get on our website during the games. You get mentions during the game. So it's a lot of fun. Steven, I know you've participated in the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, well, it is a lot of fun, and it's a fun for last couple of years you've had record numbers, but it's a lot of fun for everybody that golfs. And it's a great day. Hopefully, it's nice out, and everybody participates, and a lot of soda pops, so to speak.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
But the thing that everybody has to understand is this guy right here being a Hall of Famer in Anderson Redskin history. That Danny works his tail off on this and does majority of it by himself. He has some help with John Raymond, some other guys that I'm forgetting about. The football moms, Steve Martin helps you. So a lot of people that pitch in on this, but you do so much work for this just so that people can have a fun day, and you're also raising money for the football program. So kudos to you, and it's so fun to be a part of that day, even though it's great for all the football alumni to come back. Sometimes this is the only time they get to see each other.
It is.
But I mean, I didn't play football, so it's fun for me to even see those old guys and new guys and get to play with family members and friends.
Yeah, it was really cool. Coach Soriano comes back.
Yes.
Jeff Giesing comes back. Yes. Randy Corbett's there, former AD coach. Yes. Scott Peters is a coach.
Bobby
Got all these coaches, Bobby Molinex. And then you got a lot of the players. And I think every year, one of the first people that signed up is Kurt Shoemaker. As soon as I blasted out, he's like, I got my foursome. He puts it out there. And I'm trying to think of, we had a run there where Steve Cowell was in it every year, and then he's missed the last couple of years. But we've got a lot of guys that Shoe's been pretty much a regular. The Rods are not going to make it this year. So anybody out there, if you want to win this golf outing this year, the Rods are always
top notch.
Yeah. But I think Kenny might have got in. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'd have to look.
But Shoe, as we talk about, Shoe is as we said 1 and 1A with Daniel for
absolutely
top quarterbacks in Anderson history.
And they let us know it at the golf outing a few years ago. They wore a shirt that said, so it was the best quarterback. But no, I love it because I get to see all the guys and we get to hang out. And Steve, it's guys from recently graduated to guys who were in the 80s, guys in the 70s.
Yeah.
We've even some guys in the 60s.
Really?
That's awesome. So it's a lot of fun. And real quick, just anybody out there, John Roos, who played on the 1948 team that I got to interview, passed away the other day. So my condolences to him and his wife and his family. One of the greatest guys that I ever got to be around and talk to, and it was sad, but I know he was struggling there for a while.
What years was he at Anderson?
He graduated in 48.
Oh my gosh.
And he played on that undefeated team.
Yes.
So just a great all-around guy. And I'm sad, but I'm glad I got to meet John and get to talk to him. And I've got some interviews that I'll post later on about John and his time on a 48 team. And he got emotional talking about the team. Yeah. And that's just what it meant to those guys. And so that's why it's kind of cool that, maybe we'll honor John at that golf outing. So we're going to do a new thing that you suggested, which is really cool. Yeah. We're going to do a split the pot. And everybody's going to be around the putting green, and we're all going to try to putt in at the same time. And whoever gets the closest to the pin is going to win the money. Well, because there might be a couple that get it in, so they have to split it that way or something. Yeah. So it was really cool. Yeah. I'm glad Steve brought that up. That'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, and it is so much fun. So, and the other thing that we're going to have, and so we're going to talk about some of the things we got coming up here. Yep. One of the things that we do have coming up is we brought out a couple weeks ago is the top running backs in Anderson High School history, just kind of like we did with the quarterbacks. So if you're out there, we're going to bring that up, but we need you to continue. I'll post something later on, say, here's how many votes we got for each one. If you got anybody else, please post it. Let us know, because we go off a lot about what the fans have said. And we also got to let everybody know that, this is just a fun thing to do, like we did with Kurt. So, but there's other older guys like John Steele that played that nobody knows about. There's other running backs that people don't know about that have to be considered. John's in a Hall of Fame. Right. Forrest Tice is in a Hall of Fame.
We got to bring them up.
There's a lot of guys that we have to bring up that we will. So again, if you're out there listening to this podcast, please tell us who your top, and I'll send out some social media to that to let us know.
And if we can do that podcast before the football golf outing, then whoever wins, maybe they may come.
Yeah, make fun of us again
and wear a T-shirt like shoot.
Make fun. So we would love to try to do that before the golf outing. So that's our goal, is to shoot that in sometime in May. But again, really excited for a lot of other guests that we've got coming up. We've got Stanley Jones. We're going to have
Stan the Man.
Stan the Man. We got him coming up. We got John Raymond on an update of the kiosk that we have of honoring the past of the Redskins. And what we're going to do, an on-site podcast. We're actually going to be on the road, and we'll be at Anderson High School. And we're going to show the different things, and we'll all be up there talking about that. So we're excited to have John on there. And then we're also going to have James Camden, who we talked about.
Yes.
He'll join us in a few weeks. He wanted to finish spring ball and finish class, which she'll be doing here shortly. So it's going to be great to get his thoughts on what he thought about spring ball. And this one I'm really kind of excited about too. Not that I'm not excited about all the other guys, but Jim Larritz. Played at Turpin High School, and then played for the University of Kentucky, and played in the majors, and played with New York Yankees. And he got back to us right away, said he was honored to be on with us. Yeah. And we got to thank Kevin Keefe for getting us hooked up with Jim.
He's our agent.
Yeah, he has been our agent. He's been a big, helping us out with getting a lot of guests. And again, hey, out there, you got anybody that you think of that we would be a great person to be on this podcast? Let us know. We just need contact information. Give us some information about them, when they played, just any of that stuff. At Anderson, Turpin, or McNick. It doesn't really matter. But it's harder for us to get the McNick and Turpin guys because we don't have contacts. We don't have. And that's why Kevin Keith has helped us out with both McNick and Turpin.
And we're talking about maybe branching out too, not just to sports.
Right. We want to. Here's another thing that we've brought to us is like local musicians that played at that went to Anderson, Turpin, McNick, or in movies or whatever. Right. We want to branch it out to not just sports, but obviously we'll talk to them about sports.
Sure,
talk to them about that. But we want to try to get involved with more. We've had Dan Varner on.
Yep.
We like to get more guys. A guy I just thought of the other day is Ben Osborne. We probably need to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'd be a good one to have. So just more like, so if you got anybody out there that is involved in just any other things besides another guy that I thought about was Mark Andriatis that weekend. He's been in the government, I'm sure he probably can't talk a lot about stuff, but he just interesting stories like that. I think that'd be great to have all these people on there.
No question.
And I want to thank Abby Ellis, she pretty much tells it how it is. She tells us that we're old men and we need to step up our game. And we've been kind of
the whole social media part.
And she's been great. And so thanks to Abby Ellis. And then again, our wives have been outstanding in this. So we got to thank them too.
Yep.
Hey, so we've grown. We finally worked our thing out. So we are now on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on iHeart, and we're also on YouTube. So if you're out there, please just give us a share, give us a like, let us know what you think about it. Any improvements that we do, you're not going to hurt our feelings at all.
And we've done a ton of podcasts, and some unbelievable ones that are so interesting to watch and to get caught up on. Somebody, whether or not you've seen them for 20, 30, 40 years, just to talk about their past and where they're at now.
Yeah, so we'd love to get your input on that. So if you're out there, just let us know that there's ways to contact. If you know Steve, you've got his contact Steve. You can contact me several ways. And if anybody else that might know, that just throw them our way, because we want to branch this out a lot bigger than what we have. And hopefully you guys will like these topics that we're bringing up. And if you don't, you can tell us that too. I mean, it's not going to hurt our feelings at all, stuff that Steve and I like to talk about. So, but again, if you like to check us out, please do it. Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and YouTube, and we'll keep branching these out as more as we can.
Yes.
Again, we just had that one with Z Carell. That was another good one we had.
Yes.
Dotson. So there's a lot of guys out there we'd love for you guys to catch up and see.
Absolutely.
So Steve, been a fun topic here. Well, as we said, we'll have a couple more podcasts coming up. We got Jim Larratt's here in a few weeks, James Camden. So branch those out again. Steve and I, if you got any other topics, again, just let us know. So we really appreciate you listening to us here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. So for Dingo and the Coach podcast, I'm Dan Albers Dingo, and this is the Coach Steve Ellis. Thanks for watching Dingo and the Coach. We'll catch you next week.